Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Pandora. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up where last week's episode left off, and it's the whole situation. Obviously, Greg is left with Jet and Xander, and now it's the whole situation. We end up finding out Colin stayed behind because he's hoping, obviously he's got his own demons to deal with, but he's trying to help all those other fighters try to get out of that whole Los Venus situation. But it's like, what about Raylan's demons? And you have Jet over his body being like, "You were my best. No, you were my only friend." And then he wakes up. Then Raylan wakes up, and it scares the living shit out of Jet because apparently he was literally the only one that didn't know. And Xander's like, "Yeah, it must have slipped my mind to tell him." And it's apparently it's a trick to basically slow your heart down to make it seem like you're dead. He's like, pretty much so many species out there in the universe can do it, except for humans. And it's like, oh, that's great. More stuff being kept from him and everything. I mean, I guess it's also more so because we weren't sure that you could be. They don't say it, but I'm wondering, is it because they figured he couldn't keep the secret, or is it just because they wanted to be assholes? Xander just wanted to be an asshole and just keep it from him. I don't know. Just wanted his surprise or whatever. But at the same time, they get attacked by some Sumi pirate ships, and luckily they were able to take them down. But they end up sustaining damage, end up crashing on this planet that is inhabited by people. It's because it's a mining planet, because apparently it's a, what was it? It was a very rare material, probably even more rare than gold apparently. But obviously, this particular planet has constantly been attacked by Sumi pirates, and basically they keep coming here to try to take from these people. Obviously, got off a little rocky, but Xander and them meet kind of the dude who's the head of the place, Gorge, and his daughter Rachel, which immediately you can kind of tell Rachel and Greg kind of hit it off. Ivan Love is like, yeah, she put a gun in your face. You're around these parts, you're practically married already, or something like that. But nevertheless, it is initially a situation where it's they end up taking down the Sunni that come to investigate why that shit went. I mean, obviously it's to get their supply of that raw material, but also to find the people from EarthCom. They even had this interesting back and forth where they were kind of talking to Raylan why Zatarian would be working with the humans, But I even like that moment between that fight with when Raylan's kind of got one hand chained. It kind of reminded me of something you see in a Jackie Chan movie. He's been handcuffed in a situation like that, having to use someone. I thought that was pretty neat, and I even love what's his face. God, I'm blanking on it today. Sorry. Jet was going for a high five, but Raylan wasn't going to give it to him, so he raised his other hand to shackle to get Raylan's other hand up so they could high five him. It's I love that little moment. It's I like that Jet has easily found his place and just being much more of a character than I thought he was going to be. I didn't expect him to kind of be so involved in the story like he is, so I thought that was pretty neat. But obviously Xander and the others have made the decision that they're going to stay here and help fight. I mean, granted, it's there's only so much they could do, but the fact of the matter is other people in the town are willing to fight back too, And obviously Xander's I can't ask these people to lay down their life. And I think in the grand scheme of things, it makes sense because Xander still holds himself responsible for that antimatter weapon that ended up killing his entire squad. I think that still hit him. So it's the whole thing of because it comes up later on at the end of the episode about leading a squad, people under your command dying. So obviously they set up a lot of defenses and stuff like that, trying to prepare. Basically they want to show a force to be if we show if we kind of seem like we're more well armed and protected here, the Sumi are less likely to come back. So we got to hit them hard and make them feel like there's a force here that will defend this place, so they're less likely to come back. But we also find out that they're armed with weapons supplied by Parallax. Obviously it's there's a way to see that these aren't just black market deals. These are straight up Parallax is selling them weapons. And the question is, why? I guess it's because Harlan wants stuff to go sideways in the universe, maybe. I mean, because he knows there's more to this whole situation, and maybe he just doesn't care, or maybe he's just trying to. I mean, maybe it just comes down to a profit type of situation, but maybe I think, just making money for the company. But I think it's like he has to have bigger reasons for doing that. Why supplying because it turns out the Sumi are doing this because the more damage they can cause, the more people are going to be like, oh yeah, Earthcom doesn't keep its promise about kind of keeping order, and so obviously that in itself will lead to a war, which is exactly what the ancients are like. Yeah, none of these species aren't worth keeping around, so so it's like preventing things from escalating on that front will keep the ancients from wiping them out. It's like if we can solve this situation, and maybe, just maybe, we can convince the ancients that we're worth keeping around. But it makes you wonder, is that what is that what Harlan's trying to do? Like, he's trying to escalate things to that point because maybe he's trying to draw out the ancients for his own reasons to kind of get their. I mean, because his whole thing is about wanting to rule anyway. So it begs the question, like, could this be an opportunity to, like, because obviously we know he's trying to find an antimatter weapon that was used by them in the first place. So it's like maybe he's thinking like this situation will lead to him getting that, and obviously he'll have complete control. Like no one, even the ancients, might not be able to stop. I don't know. We're not 100% clear what's going on in Harlan's mind at the time, but at the same time, this is all going down. There's a whole situation with Jax. Obviously, her and Zazzy, like, they've gotten closer and everything. And every time they're trying to hang out and have fun, lo and behold, Shral shows up and is like, yeah, you got something to work on. It's like, yeah, that family tree thing, yeah, get on top of it. And it's like, I love that she's like, yeah, here you are. He's like, it took you long enough. She's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Besides, like, it took me about 50 minutes because I was standing in front of your office for about 50 minutes before I figured out what you meant by the whole family tree situation. I loved her admitting that. But basically, Osborn wants Jax to talk to her mom so that Osborn can get access to the like a portal, because obviously having access to a portal makes getting around as a wanted fugitive a lot easier, obviously, but obviously Jax is kind of reluctant to talk to her mom, especially because it's about getting your mom to help you get in contact with Tierney, not the person that you. So it's kind of sad because it's not even like a moment to just talk to your mom, because obviously you have other. I mean, to be fair, she's been avoiding her mom the entire time, and her and her mom finally talk and everything, and she's like, oh yeah, how's school? And it's like, really, you can ask me about school? It's like, well, you should be glad I don't ask you about your love life right now. But it's like she's trying to bridge that gap. She's like, oh come on, it's a little funny, but it's like obviously Jax doesn't find any of it funny just because it's like. She doesn't understand what her mom's been up to, why you faked your death, why you're doing all of this. Obviously, I know why you're kicking it with Tierney because she's your actual daughter, but it's like what you're up to, she has no idea. And what's interesting, though, is that her mom makes it kind of pretty clear. She's like, you will understand one day when you have a daughter that you're willing to do whatever it takes. Because she's like, we want the same thing. You want to stop the ancients from destroying everything? Me too. But I'm like, why are you going about it the way you are? Why not work with everybody else? Why it seem like you're working against everyone? So it's like, obviously there's a lot more to this that Eve's not explaining. But she said it herself. She said, like, I will do whatever. You will understand when you have a child of your own that you're willing to do whatever for them. So part of me's wondering, is everything she's doing connected to Jax? Is it for the betterment of, like, is she willing to do whatever, sacrifice whatever she needs to if it means protecting Jax? Like, part of me was like, I don't know, because it turns out, because obviously they set the whole thing up, and obviously Shral and Tierney talk, and it's like, okay, you give us a portal, we'll give you something you want, that antimatter weapon. So it's like, for one, it's like, why would, because even she's like, why would you actually trust me with it? What, why? It's like, first and foremost, we need to know why you want it. She's like, they kill the ancients. It's like, it's kill or be killed. So it's like, either we get to the ancients first, or the ancients get to us. So she says that's what their plan is. I mean, who's to say it, but I mean, even then, it's like, even if you do wipe them out, like, who knows what the ramifications could be for that. Maybe that's what Eve and Tierney's situation. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see what that means, because obviously whatever it is, because Tierney had made that whole point at the end episode, it's like, you do this, Jax is never going to forgive you. She's like, oh, I know, but it's like, I don't care about her forgiving me, because it seems like maybe everything I don't know, maybe maybe Jax is going to be like a sacrificial piece where she's worried about Xander being the one potentially betraying, or maybe like it's going to end up being, well, her mom's already kind of betrayed her anyway. But I'm curious, like, what their end game is, because it doesn't, the whole picture still isn't 100% in focus on like what they are getting at. I mean, I'm curious to find out what it is all about. I mean, whether she is being true to her word, that she's willing to do whatever for her daughter, and that, that she does love Jax like she claims she does, but we'll see. At the same time, there was this interesting moment between Raylan and Gorsh, because we end up finding out like he's not, because it's like, oh yeah, like the moves you used, it's like those aren't something like an EarthCom soldier would use. You're more so like, he's like, what's your situation? And obviously it gets revealed like he's not from EarthCom. He's not like a veteran or whatever. Like, he's actually like a smuggler. Like, him and his wife were kind of in a more shady side of business, but they decided to leave that life behind, for the sake of their daughter, because it's like, this is our life. We don't want our daughter to have that. So they came here as kind of an opportunity to start over. And obviously, so he's made it so that his daughter doesn't find out like her situation, his situation, nor her mom's situation. And obviously Raylan understands, because he lost his wife recently. She was willing to sacrifice something that will, in the end, save us all. And for him, he understands, second chances. So this is his, because he was so down and just kind of, basically he was throwing away that second chance that was given to him. So he's trying to make up for that now. And he understands that second chance. So it's like, you and your daughter deserve one too. So the secret I'll keep. Sadly, the defense of that town ended up not. They lost a lot of people along the way, including Gorsh. He died trying to save his daughter, and he was saying like, I never deserved you. I guess because of the life that he led, and it's like the good person his daughter ended up turning out to be. It's actually interesting too, because it kind of ties into like Greg and her conversation too, because obviously Greg, it's like, yeah, me and Xander aren't really friends, we're more like rivals, we're in love with the same girl. What happened? He got the girl, I didn't. But for him, it's like he doesn't even think he still is in love with Jax, because I'm a different person, and I strongly believe she's a different person. He thinks like the reason why they got together is because they were kind of glass half full type of people, very optimistic. And obviously it seems like a little bit of that optimism died in Greg, because now he's almost just kind of thinking like, he used to kind of believe in the best in people, and Jack still holds on to that. I think because of all his experiences and everything, it made him kind of a little less believing in that. But obviously Rachel's a very optimistic person, a glass half full type of person. It's kind of a little foolish and maybe naive or whatever, to kind of still wanting to believe, that everything can kind of work out in the end, and I think that kind of inspired that in Greg again, because for him, it's like he's been searching, because that's who he used to be, but he's been looking this entire time, trying to figure out who he is now, still kind of lost, because he even said at the beginning of the episode, it's like going back with him, it's like, well, EarthCom isn't really where he belongs anymore. He's not a cadet, or he's not part of EarthCom anymore, so he doesn't really have a place anymore. So, but luckily, I was wondering, because obviously Jax ended up finding out about them being in trouble on the planet, so I was like, oh, like, are they going to be able to get people? But even Straw was saying like, oh, they weren't going to be able to get people out there in time. But it turns out they had, luckily, because of a situation from last episode, Jax was able to get some backup, and it was from Aleka. She was able to get them to, now that being one of the wives to, like, what was it, like the prince or the king or whatever, she was able to get the pirates to back down, which obviously now Xander's learning too, like, wait, so the Sumi people are aware of what these pirates are doing, and it's like, yeah. So obviously it's not going to be the easiest thing. Obviously she doesn't agree with this whole thing, but obviously like she's not necessarily currently in a position to really change that too much. But it's like, why would you help us? It's like, because much like you, I would do anything for Jax, Joe, and saying that I showed her my back and she's my sister. So obviously a lot went down, obviously, when Xander was away. So that was, luckily things worked out in that front. Great that still people got hurt, people died, But Rachel's planning to stay there. You know, this is still her home, and they can do so much and make so much of it. And obviously, you know, Greg is deciding to stay as well because obviously, you know, I think they can I think Raylan can understand too because like this is Greg's second chance, you know, and it's like, and Greg gives something to Xander to be like, I guess maybe a recording of him explaining everything. He's like explaining what went down. It's like I owe her an explanation because it wasn't just, you know, her. It wasn't anything she did. It was obviously he was going through what he was going through. Obviously, we learned about last episode. So I thought that was, you know, pretty neat. And I kind of had a feeling, like I said, the moment him and Rachel hit it off, plus him saying at the beginning, like, oh, he doesn't have a place in EarthCon, that eventually he'd probably end up staying here. I figured as much. But obviously, there's a conversation that, you know, Raylan has with Xander. The fact of the matter is, it's never easy losing somebody, but obviously being a commander, you kind of have to make the hard choices. And obviously Xander was like, it never gets any easier, like losing, you know, making those hard decisions. And Raylan's like, no. But the fact of the matter is, your command kind of inspired, like, because he used to be so, because he had kind of given up a little bit because of the whole Mata situation. Now, Xander kind of inspired him, you know, kind of reinvigorated that fight in him that he's willing to. He's like, wherever you go, Captain, I'm willing to follow. And so when it's all said and done, it's like, we got a place to go back to Earth. It's like, no, we got to find out why Parallax is applying like these, assuming with these weapons. So that's their side of things. So obviously, I don't know if they're going to be going back to Earth anytime soon. Maybe they are. They're going to drop by there first and then do all this. But obviously, we've got two separate. Well, because once again, we still also have to figure out like where, you know, Zazie fits in all this, because obviously she's working with Eve and Tierney, maybe because she's of the same mind of them, whatever their grand plan is, or maybe she's just part of this and not knowing the full scope of everything. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm just supposed to get close to somebody, but not realizing like the grand scale of like everything that's going down. Maybe not. We'll kind of have to, you know, wait and see where these storyline threads end up eventually connecting, you know. So but really, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.